I'm Mr. Q, and we're going to talk about political cartoon analysis. Political cartoons are drawings which often include comments about government, politics, or persons and events in the news. They can have symbolism, and they're a great way to look at different perspectives from the time period that you're studying. The political cartoon I'm going to work with you today on is about the League of Nations. I'm going to demonstrate how to use the worksheet, and then you're going to be able to use the same worksheet on a different cartoon provided by your teacher. So step one in the worksheet is to list the objects or people you see in the visual. I went ahead and circled them, and we see a signpost, a human male who's probably Uncle Sam, who always represents the United States. He's Uncle Sam. He's got the top hat, the long white hair. He looks pretty tall, and so that figure is pretty identifiable in American history as a representation of the USA. The next thing I see an incomplete bridge, which is going to be pretty important in this cartoon. Then the cartoon analysis sheet asks me to list the cartoon caption or title. And so the title of this is The Gap in the Bridge, and asks me to locate 3 words or phrases used by the cartoonist to identify objects or people in the cartoon. And so there's a lot of words, but I wrote in the League of Nations, because that's what it's all about. Keystone, because I think that's going to be pretty important. And the bridge itself, which says Belgium, France, England, Italy. And any important dates or numbers that appear in the cartoon. In the caption itself, it says December 10th, 1919. So I just going to add that in there. The next level 2, asks you to start to analyze the symbols a bit more. Which objects on the list are symbols? I said the bridge itself, the keystone, and Uncle Sam. And I believe the bridge represents the League of Nations, the keystone obviously represents the US, and Uncle Sam always represents the United States. Next, which words or phrases in the cartoon appear to be the most significant? Why do you think so? Well, again, I think it's the keystone, because that's the part of the bridge that needs to be there in order for it to work. And so it's showing that the US is the key to making the League of Nations work. And number 5 is list adjectives that describe the emotions portrayed in the cartoon. Well, in my opinion, Uncle Sam is pretty relaxed. Like, he isn't worried about whether the bridge is finished or not. But another emotion you might see here is that it's foreboding, because there's this giant drop, and if the bridge doesn't work, someone's going to fall in. Level 3 is going to ask us to start really deep, our deeper analysis. But first, we're just going to describe the action taking place in the cartoon. So we see Uncle Sam. He's resting beside an incomplete bridge. That's what's going on. B, explain how the words in the cartoon clarify the symbols. Well, luckily under keystone it says USA, so I know that the part of the bridge that's not finished, or the part of the League of Nations that is incomplete, is that the USA hasn't joined it, or it hasn't been put into the bridge. And so that helps me clarify. That helps me clarify what's going on in the cartoon. So after all this analysis, I can explain the message of the cartoon, which is that the League of Nations will fail if the U.S. does not join. You might also say the U.S. has not finished their job. They started the job, but they didn't finish it because they need to join themselves. And the last thing is, what special interest groups would agree or disagree with the cartoon's message, and why? And so you got to bring in your context knowledge here. But the Woodrow Wilson and Europeans might say, you haven't finished your job yet. You have to join the League of Nations. But the senators who voted against ratifying the treaty and joining the League of Nations might argue, no, we should relax. We're safe over here, and we don't need to join the League of Nations itself. So that was a deep dive into cartoon analysis, and you're going to go ahead and do that now on your own with a cartoon that your teacher provides for you. You could always come back and look at this video if you're wondering what to do about a certain step.